Hi, Paul.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for taking time to come to the Ordinary Show.
Oh, of course. It's my pleasure.
I want to give a special thanks to Tony, and she was the glue who got us together. And
Yes.
thank you, Tony, for introducing me to Paul.
Pleasure, pleasure. And I want to thank Tony for introducing me to wonderful friends that she has.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. And so on this podcast, we are going to talk about who actually Paul is. You wear so many hats that you actually, my curiosity like woke up when I met you.
Well, I had a very interesting upbringing, so I'll maybe start from the beginning. I was born in Korea, and we moved to Japan when I was 6 months old.
Wow.
We kind of fled to Japan because my father was involved with Korean politics, and back in the 1960s, it was not the safest place. So my first language growing up was Japanese. And then I was in Japan till 7 years old, and I was a very interesting case in Japan because I was the first Korean to enter my kindergarten using my Korean name, because back then in Japan, they made Koreans adopt a Japanese name to go to school.
So you had two names?
So they were trying to, but my father was very influential, within the Japanese governmental offices, so that I was the first Korean student to enter my kindergarten using my Korean name.
Well, what is your Korean name?
Mansu Cha. Cha's my last name. And so Mansu was my name. And so I was the first one to enter school. And it was interesting because they didn't let my sisters in first. So they asked to see if your son could keep up with the work. And I did. So when I entered the first grade, they allowed my sisters to enter the school with our Korean name. So we were the first Korean family in Tokyo going to this school. And it was, I didn't know until I got older and went back to Japan for work, but it was like the elementary school and the kindergarten where the emperor's kids went to. So it was a public school, but it was a very special public school.
Awesome. So then you grew up in Japan.
Yes, for 7 years. And it was a blessing because in Japan, I learned the art of attention to details, discipline. And so after that, my father said that he needs to completely leave Korea for a while because there was lots of political attention.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we moved. He said, "Where should we move to?" And my mom said, "Let's move to Los Angeles."
Nice.
So I lived in Los Angeles for almost like 40 plus years. I
So
grew
from
up there.
age 7 to
Yes, so
40.
seven to almost almost close to 40s. And then, so at the time, when we got to Los Angeles, we went to a practically mostly all Jewish school because we grew up in one part of town. And so I went from Japan to LA. And then it was interesting because back in the 70s when we moved, LA had very few Asian population. Today, there are many, but at the time in my elementary school, there were 3 Asian. It was me, my sister, and one other person. And the rest were, mostly white Caucasian or, and predominantly Jewish. So I grew up with the Jewish friends. So
and you have another great upbringing because you learned a lot from the Jewish friends.
Yes, exactly. And so it was very interesting. So, and throughout school, I was pretty outgoing. So in my predominantly Jewish middle school, I actually, ran for the president of my school and I won. And then even in my high school, I won student body president of my high school. So I was a very interesting Asian student at the time. And then, growing up in LA was wonderful actually because we were exposed to everybody, all different cultures, from Latin America.
And the movie culture at that time was so dominant there.
Oh, it was all dominant. And so one of my best friends during high school, his father was a creator of a TV show called Barney Miller and Bewitched. So Mr. Arnold. So they were really good friends. So I was exposed to it, but then I decided not to go into the industry at that time. And so I went to college and then, Asian parents. So they said, "Oh, you got to go to law school or med school." So I was thinking about going to med school. And
Every Asian wants to either lawyer, doctor, or engineer,
yeah,
right?
yeah, especially back then with mostly doctors and
Yeah, exactly.
and
So you became a doctor?
no, so I was studying for everything, and then I got recruited by a Japanese bank, so I went into banking, or actually American bank, because I grew up speaking Japanese, Korean, and I think my English is pretty good, right?
Okay, I can talk about that. So what did you study in college?
So I actually studied. I have a degree in finance, minor in accounting,
Oh my
and
God.
also a minor in management. And
So the opposite of what you actually did in your
yeah,
life.
but I took all the classes to get into med school, because you had to take general chemistry, physics,
Biology.
biology, and I took all that so that I was able to go. And then I was kind of overzealous, so I graduated with like almost 4.5 years of college, almost 5 years worth of college
Wow.
in 4 years. So
And then your first job was the banking.
I was in banking, so I was a banker, especially on the investment banking side. So
I
one of
would
my
have not even thought about that.
my specialty was biotech companies at the time, because I had a strong science background. And then I worked for a health food company.
Okay.
It was a vitamin company, but I don't know if they still exist. But back then, and since I spoke Japanese at a young age, they sent me to Japan to work with our Japanese partner. And I speak Japanese, so it was very natural.
Nice.
And that's when I discovered that, wow, my parents sent us a really, really good elementary school, because the president of the company was my senior. And so he took me in, and he was just very, very
It's all
nice.
about network and contacts.
Yeah,
right?
and I had no idea. And then I go, wow, just because I went to this elementary school, look how it went. And so it was great. And then I came back, and then
How did you pivot your careers then?
well, it was kind of easy, because it just kind of, I didn't choose it. They kind of
Chose you.
chose me. And so after that, in the 90s, um, one of my friends asked me to raise some money for him for a tech startup in Silicon Valley. And so I knew a lot of wealthy individuals in Japan. And so I went to them, and it was like, we hear the whole thing about, we drew everything on a napkin. It was one sheet of paper. And then he gave us, several $1,000,000. I said, okay, I'll invest in your friend's company. And then, and as we were trying to close at the last minute, he said, one last stipulation: you need to quit your job, and I want you to help run this company, because
wow.
I don't trust engineers running the day-to-day operation and sales, because I know you're good with sales. So, and and the thing about investment banking is you're selling bunch of paper with a lot of information and say this is worth X amount of dollars, and you get investors to buy it. So I picked up everything, moved to San Francisco, the Bay Area, and then helped run the company. And then we went through this growth where we hired the wrong CEO to take over. And so eventually I came back to LA, but I did relatively well. So I was comfortable. So I came back to LA, and then I studied wine for 2 years at UCLA. Because
you went back to college again.
Yeah, or it was just a graduate program.
Program.
Yeah. And the reason I took it was, at the time I met a lot of investors. It exposed me to like amazing wine.
Oh, so obviously, and it's a big industry itself, right?
Yes. So it was just, it was interesting. But the thing that made me go to the wine program was that I think first day of class we had 80 students, and the first thing that the professor said, look around, because by next year only 5 of you will finish.
Really?
Yeah, it was really hard. He said it's harder than any other subject.
Wine?
Yeah. So now I don't really practice like I did back then, but back then, towards the end of 2 years, I could smell the wine and tell where it came from, what it is, and if they're a very notable wine, I could even tell what wine it was. Okay. But today I don't have that same knowledge, because I didn't keep it up, but I still enjoy good wine. So that's kind of my whole wine project started. And then I was consulting for a lot of companies at the time, especially startups. Mm-hmm. And then I started moving on. And then at the time, my older sister was a makeup artist for Hollywood.
So she was the one who came and picked you.
Yeah, and so it was very comfortable and easy. And then a week later, or my father started calling, what do you think? What do you think? And I go, Dad, maybe she was fine. And then she flew out to LA to meet me the following week. So we hung around and, we got to know each other. And while that was happening, my father arranged all the wedding places because, back in that period, Korea was under the IMF because, there was the whole world was having a recession. And so you were not allowed to have elaborate weddings. So you have to go have a wedding facility. So my father secured a place and he said, and I met her June 1st and he goes, oh, I got a date September 1st available. So let's get everything done. So my mom went to her jeweler, got a engagement ring done. And then I took her to Hong Kong so that we could meet the friend that introduced us because her and her husband lived in Hong Kong. And then my mom goes, oh, buy her a watch, buy her something. And we did. And then we came back and then, September, 3 months of the date later, I flew to Korea and there was a sign that, I should have recognized. Korea was hit with typhoon, which is like a hurricane. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, the plane just barely landed, 3 days before my wedding. And the roads were flooded. So my father's driver couldn't pick me up. So I had to take a public transportation all the way into the city.
That's fun.
Which is fine. And I got there and then 800 people showed up and I think I knew 50 people. And my father felt bad. So he flew like 10 of my friends in. And so at least I had friends there. And then next thing you know, boom, and my dad's assistant was like right behind mentioning everybody's name. So when I see them,
like, hi, how are you?
Because, it's all about respect and protocol.
Yes,
and so I went through that, got married, moved back to Los Angeles. And then 2 years later, when I moved to San Francisco, I realized she was not the one. And so, we got divorced and everything. And then I kind of moved on. And so back to where my sister was as a makeup artist, I used to go visit her all the time.
So your sister was makeup artist and you used to go visit her all the time.
Yeah, my mom would say, oh, it's going to be Thanksgiving, she's not coming back, so you go out there, make sure, go get all the good food, good wine, and make sure your sister has a good holiday, by herself. So I flew out a couple of times and my sister was out in Atlanta, Chicago, and I think a few other places. And then one trip, a few years later, her assistant got sick, her makeup artist, and she goes, oh my God, brother, you could figure this out. I'm going to show you what to do. You're good with painting because I used to paint a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And then she goes, you have the human side covered, so you're really good with dealing with people, especially,
And you're creative.
And high-strung people. And so she goes, like, you could do that well. All you have to do is learn the skill. So that night, I just practiced. And then she gave me her lead actor. And I, did the makeup on him and I took care of him. And at the end of the day, the lead actor goes, oh, Essie, let me just say, that Paul guy that you brought, I like him. And I know you're busy, so why don't we keep him so that you could run the department? So let's keep him. And then my sister goes, you can't go back now. You got to help me finish this.
What was that movie?
It was a TV series. I think it was called Powers. I think it was. It was like a long time ago. And so we did that. And that's how I kind of got started. And then there was another project and she goes, oh my God, we have all these high profile men. Can you come and help? So I go, oh yeah. And I said, sure. And it was actually kind of fun because I always wanted to,
yes.
I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to be a painter first, but then, Asian parents, oh my God, you can't make a living as an artist.
Sometimes you have a skill which you never kind of hone over,
Yeah. And that's how I kind of got started on the makeup world. And then I moved up pretty quickly because of my sister's help also. And also, one of the things I really realized is that makeup requires more than just makeup skills, but you need management skills to run your
100%.
team. And so that was something that I was pretty capable because in Silicon Valley, when I was up there doing the tech company.
And you had the finance skill too.
Yeah. And then, so of course, the accounting department goes, oh my God, you turn in perfect paperwork. All your expense reports are like perfect. And, even your time cards are perfect. But
Which a lot of people in creative industries lack because their management skills are very different because they're creative.
Yeah, and so that was a good part. So I always say I'm not the best makeup artist, but I know how to run a good team. So that's been my blessing to get to where I am.
You said your blessing?
Yeah, it was my blessing was that I was always good managing a team.
Okay.
So now, in a very short period, I climbed from just a makeup artist to assistant makeup artist to a department head. So now I run a whole team. So for the last probably 7, 8 years, I've done a big NBC series, all the way from, and I did superhero series from like Stargirl, which was fun. But then I realized when you do superhero series, schedules are kind of tough because somehow they like to fight at night, which means that we do late nights. And I go, oh, I really do want, I know that's not something. Vampires movies and the series are the worst. It's all nights. So you're actually living like a vampire. You're sleeping during the day and working at night. So that was good, but it was really fun. And then, I got much more established. And so I did a big NBC series called Grosse Pointe Garden Society. It did not get picked up for the second season, but that was great. And then but I worked with some amazing actors. Like I did makeup for Daniel Radcliffe, Steve Buscemi on a series here. Mel Gibson, he was great actually. He was really, really wonderful. And then Ed Harris.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, and then most recent I did like Julie Bowen from Modern Family, Anna Campos. She was so nice. They were all very nice, and I still stay in touch with Julie because we develop a friendship. So along the way, you develop all these friendships with these people. And then, and some of them, especially the younger ones, I became their Uncle Paul. So, they still, stay in touch. And when they come out to Atlanta, we would go to lunch or something or,
So what brought you to Atlanta? Because at that time you were like...
No, I was in Los Angeles, but the TV industry brought me to Atlanta because it was growing here. And also my sister was here.
Okay.
So we were like the brother-sister team.
Oh, I get it.
So we would work together, and then sometimes she would leave early and I would finish, or sometimes I would leave and then she would finish. So it was a really good
team.
Yeah, team.
So you and your sister were like a great team.
Yeah, and so we worked on a lot of projects together, and then of course, we have so many good team members, so we want to make sure that they stay working. So we basically, like the last 5 years of my sister's career, we kind of split up and we did our own projects, and then we would help each other all the time. So between my sister and I, we have lots of makeup. My makeup inventory is over $100,000 in makeup. I think my brushes alone is like $20,000. I have $20,000 in brushes.
I need to come get a makeup tour of that, actually.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we got started.
So walk me through your Descendant journey.
Yeah. So the producer that hires us called and they said, Paul, I know that you're so good dealing with young actors. So, I'm doing this movie called Descendants 4. Do you know? I go, no, I don't know. Because, I really don't want.
Of course, yes.
And so she goes, can you do this? And at the time I was trying to finish another show. So my sister went in there and started it. And then it was like a big fantasy show. And then
I love fantasy shows.
Yeah. And so the makeup was it was challenging in a way that with Disney, there's so many people that has to approve the look. And then also Descendant was very interesting because the makeup that we put on the actors, that has to translate into toys and everything else. So we couldn't make it that elaborate, but we have to still keep it. So there was a fine line. And so we worked on that. And so my sister my sister started in the beginning, and then I finished my other projects. I came and took over so my sister could go on another project. And, but we worked together in the beginning, and we had to create all these different looks for everybody. Like Red was one of the characters. Yes. So of course we had to use Red, but Kylie, they provided us with such amazing looking actresses and actors. So it wasn't that difficult. So, it's like in painting. We had a great canvas to work with. And so it was very easy. And then we had to make sure that their look was something that they all approved. And so one trick that I did learn is that, the past is that you don't make everything 100% perfect. You leave something out. So when they look at it, it goes, oh, can you just change the eyeliner a little bit, point? And so we fix that, and then the rest is okay.
Yes.
So we kind of have to do that. Like even the lip color, I purposely use a different lip color.
Because you wanted their feedback. So then once they give you feedback, they're like, oh, this is perfect.
Exactly. And then they don't worry about the rest.
Exactly.
So that was
That's a good trick to know.
Yeah. So I learned that. And that made my assistants really easy and comfortable. And then we brought everything. So when they said something, we fixed it right there. So when they see everything fixed, they said, okay, approved. So we did really, really well on the approval process. And then, towards, and then we had some great act, like Rita Ora, she's a British singer right now. And she was so much fun because this was her first movie in the US. And, one little tidbit is that she has this, like, when you see the movie, she has this, Swarovski, beaded finger extension. And, so that was something that they couldn't, the wardrobe costumes people couldn't make it and everything. And so the producer goes, Paul, we could call that prosthetics. Can you just make this? I said, sure. And so I spent 3 days making it like every weekend. And then when Rita showed up, I had to measure it to her finger. So she arrived on Friday, and then they wanted to use it for a photo shoot on Saturday. So it was just one of those things I worked all night making.
Absolutely.
And then when I showed up next day, Rita was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so instead of using on one scene, I think she used it like 4 or 5 times because she loved it. So that was kind of a fun thing, but it was generally very challenging.
It was challenging, yet it was so.
Yeah. And, and it was interesting. So, one benefit I got from Descendants is that I got a call from my producer and says, we want to submit you guys for the Emmys, because it was streamed on Disney Plus. Yeah. And, Oscars or Academies that it requires a theatrical release. So we got into the Emmys and she goes, you should come because, and so they said, oh, you got nominated. I go, oh my God, great. So so I make sure I always include my whole team because, I always, I'll tell you later, but I said something always funny at the interviews. But so we submitted, we got nominated, and then 3 months before the Emmy, I get a call from my producer again. He goes, I think, Paul, you need to come to New York. I think you have a good chance. I go, but we're up against Star Wars series or whatever. She goes, no, I think you should come. And I go, I'm not sure, and her name was Wendy, and Wendy's an amazing producer that I work with. And then she goes, no, I'm going to tell Disney to fly you up there.
Ooh.
And so about a month before, Disney contacted me and said, we would love for you to go up there. And I said, okay. So I flew up to New York. And at the time, my 96-year-old mother was here in Atlanta. So I really did not want to leave that a long time. So basically, I flew out Monday morning, like at 5 a.m. from Atlanta, landed in New York, and then I went to the Emmy event, and and I thought the wardrobe was going to win because the costumes on that show was amazing. They did not win.
Oh, the wardrobe did not win.
Did not win, and so I go, oh, if they didn't win, I don't think we're going to win. And then right after wardrobe was
the makeup,
and so they showed everything, and then all of a sudden they called my name.
Ooh.
And so here it is, my Emmy statue from that night.
Oh my God! What were you feeling at that time? Could they call your name and they were like, "This is heavy."
Yeah, I was just shocked. Yeah, it was really heavy. I was really, really shocked, and so they called my name, and then I went up there.
If you can keep it here.
Yeah, I went up there and went up on stage, and then they said that your acceptance speech has to be 30 seconds or less.
30 seconds or less?
Because, they had 34 awards that they were giving. And,
of course.
And they had, time. And so I just in case, I just wrote everybody's name so I could give everybody credit. So I mentioned everybody's name. And then, most people, some people know, but my sister passed away a couple of years ago that did makeup with me that worked on Descendants. So I kind of dedicated to my sister. And then,
of course, that was the starting of your entire career.
Exactly. And I was like shocked. And then I went back to the green room or and then they actually, so here's a little interesting tidbit. When you go up and give you a trophy,
so what's a tidbit?
Yeah. So when you go up to the stage and when they hand you the trophy, it's a blank trophy because some people get excited, they drop it and they break it. So they give you one with no name on it. And then when you go in the back, you hand it to one of the organizers, and they escort you where your actual trophy lies with your name on it. So,
yes.
so all these names, so this is blank, but then when you go back, they give you one with like my Paul Cha head makeup artist. Yeah.
What name did you have? You have Paul?
Paul Cha, yeah. So it was interesting. So it was the last project I worked with my late sister. So I dedicated to her. And then during the interview, it was very interesting. They were like, saying, what made you, what was your inspiration? I said, well, I have one philosophy of doing work, which is I hire people better than me. And as long as I'm the weakest link, I think we'll be okay. And so everybody laughed.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And that was kind of my, and actually that's my philosophy when I work. I try to hire the best people to do the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't expect somebody who they don't know how to do it. But so that's how this whole thing started. And then it's actually opening some interesting doors for me. So I'm looking forward to doing a big project. And my producer, after we got back to the hotel, she goes, okay, Paul, next one, Oscar. Let's go get an Oscar together. I go, okay,
absolutely.
Yeah. And, but the one fascinating thing about this whole experience is that people I've known when I was working in the tech industry, some of my old friends, they're all like shocked and said, I can't believe it. Who would have believed it? Yeah, who would have believed that you would win an Emmy, or the fact that you're doing makeup? That's
from a management banking, career, and how careers pivot.
Yeah, and so that's been, and they were all shocked. And then when I sent them the picture of my Emmy, they were like, "Wow, Paul, who would have thought that you were this, amazing manager that managed all of us, especially the tech, in the tech world, and now you won an Emmy."
It's amazing. This was such a great background, on your careers and this Emmy and Descendants. So tell me more about Paul.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that I was always a closet nerd, geek. I love technology. So, one of the things I do all the time is, I fix computers, I fix everything in the house. And matter of fact, I'm very handy with my hands. So I build things. So, one of the things that came from my creativity is that I really, really enjoyed, like especially traveling. We started to travel since we were young, due to my parents, and so that really opened my eyes to
the world,
the world, and how I realized I really don't know anything, and which actually really built up a fascination and curiosity. So I traveled extensively all over the world. I probably have flown about 2.5 million miles in my lifetime.
Ooh. And your Michelin star restaurants you told me about?
Yeah, and also I love foods. Our whole family loves food. So like a perfect example, my father flew into Hong Kong one day, and I was in Tokyo, and I had like a day off. So I flew to Hong Kong, had dinner with my dad, and I flew back to Tokyo and went back to work just to eat a dinner together. So that's been a big thing. And my other older sister is, she started as a art curator.
So you guys are artists by nature, like it's in your blood, I guess.
Yeah, and then she pivoted into becoming a chef, and then she became a very renowned chef. And she just retired, but she was in a restaurant called Cicadas in downtown Los Angeles, where they host all the Emmy party, Grammy party, Academy Award party. And so she cooked for the stars and did all these elaborate dinners. So we just love food. And the thing that's really, that drives me every day to have fun is to cook. And then I got into wine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I pivoted. And so during I had a little time off. So I went to UCLA for 2 years under wine program.
Yes. So tell me about how many Michelin star restaurants you've
So I've been to, I think, 58 now as of this, all over the world. And I think my goal is to hit 100 at least.
And how many countries you've traveled?
I think I've been to 38 now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just been wonderful, and I can't say I like one area better than the others, but still my favorite place would be, I just love going to Japan.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, because Japan is...
Your childhood memories are there.
Yeah, but Japan, food is amazing.
Food is amazing.
Yeah.
I've been to Japan myself.
Yeah, food is amazing.
People are
People are
amazing.
nice. It's so safe. It's so well organized, except when you take the
And
train
there's
and
food
the
in
elevator.
every corner.
Yes.
You never need to cook at home.
No,
Never.
never. And you know, and the thing that's amazing about Japan is you could just go to a little dive and it's amazing.
The best food.
Yeah, best.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
if I lived in an event, I would never have to cook food ever.
Yeah, and you know, and then I have a lot of friends there. I mean, and I also, when I was working there, you know, when I was at the bank and so forth, you know, I would drive. So Tokyo is one city I could drive, which is kind of crazy,
Yes.
but you know, I know Tokyo that well. So that's some of my favorite places. But mostly, you know, art has really influenced me a lot.
Yes.
And that's why for me to get into makeup was pretty smooth, and it was an easy transition because, you know, my sister was saying, instead of painting a canvas, you're painting somebody's face.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She was traveling. You know, Asian parents, my mom goes, and at the time I was married and divorced. It was really, I actually, you know, my marriage was interesting because I thought I was a rebel to my father. So he arranged the arranged marriage for me.
Oh, you got into arranged marriage?
Yeah. So I went to Korea. Especially me. Everybody was shocked because I grew up in America all my life. I'm so westernized. And I think I've only dated maybe one Asian before I met my ex-wife.
Okay.
And, but you know, like it wasn't that I choose to date certain group. It's just that, you know, you're surrounded by people around you.
Yes.
And
you date the same kind of people you're surrounded by.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went to Korea and I had a wedding with 800 people that showed up that I had no idea who they were.
Being Asian, I understand that part totally, and the arranged marriage part too. Yeah. So, did you see your bride before?
Oh, yes, yes. So I met her 3 months before the wedding. And actually I was lucky. It wasn't just purely arranged. My father arranged for me to meet like 10 women. So it was like speed dating or bachelor or whatever.
I understand that totally. That's exciting.
Yeah. And so, and he tricked me. He goes like, oh, you know, son,
influenced you.
Yeah, well, I'm not feeling well. Do you think you come and visit me in Korea? And I
so it was Korean?
It was Korean, yeah.
Not Japanese?
Not Japanese. So I flew to Korea expecting that my dad was not feeling well. And then I land at the airport and my dad's driver goes, oh, you need to change. You need to wear a suit. And I always carry a suit because my father's quite formal. So I changed it to, I was like Superman in the backseat of the car. And then we get to the hotel and I see my mom. And in the Korean arranged marriage, it's the mothers that brings the kids. Yes, the fathers don't show up. So I see my mom, and my mom, the first thing she says, I want you to behave. and don't be so energetic, you know, like enthusiastic. Okay, I go, yes. And then we met, and then, you know, I mean, my dad did a great job. I think one woman was a TV announcer. Another one was like Miss Korea's second runner-off. And then, you know...
so you met 10
women.
Same room?
No, different day. So I had like breakfast, lunch.
I get it, yes.
And then if I liked somebody, I had dinner with them. Yes. Breakfast, lunch, or even sometimes
So you were there for almost like 10, 12...
I was there for a week. And
speed dating.
Yeah, just speed dating. And then finally, like a day before I was leaving on a Saturday, I mean, I gave my best. And I go, Dad, I don't know. They're not exactly somebody that I feel good about. So, and my father had to leave to Paris on Saturday and I was going to fly back on Sunday.
And how did you decide from that speed dating she was the one?
Well, what happened was I didn't meet anybody.
You got tricked into again.
Well, so we get to the airport and my dad asked one of his friend's daughter, don't you have a friend that wants to live in America, you know, marry my son and, you know, all that stuff. And then she goes, oh my God, you know, I have somebody. My dad goes, okay, you know what? Just leave the airport. I know how to take a plane by myself. You know, he flies a lot. So we left, met her, and something unique about her was that she was the only one that actually came and picked me up from my house, took me to this divey restaurant. Yeah, divey restaurant. And, you know, and it was like pretty easy, you know. The rest were, you know, having my dad's driver take us to dates. It was kind of awkward, you know. It was like, he's sitting over there while we were eating dinner. So once we got there, and then, and you know, she was good and everything. And then my dad called and he goes, what do you think?
So that was such an exciting journey. I just felt I was living your life through your lens. So tell me, where are you pivoting now?
Yeah.
What's your new projects? What's your new endeavors?
So one of the things that, and I have, like one of my best friend is a pretty well-known actor, and, and he's like a brother to me. So, and he doesn't have an older brother. I don't have a younger brother. So we are very close. And he goes, brother, you actually have a really good voice. And I think you should think about maybe coming in front of camera. So we decided to shoot something. And since I knew a lot about wine, and also at my house, I used to host a lot of wine, wine parties and so forth. So
I need an invite next time.
Yeah. And I would have them. And then, so one of the things I love is history, because,
Wow.
we exist because of history.
Exactly.
So we came up with a show called History in a Bottle, and we shot 2 episodes right now. And it's basically, what is it like to be with us and hang out with us? And I would curate the wine, and for our guests, I would find the year that something happened for them. Like, if they're young enough, I'll find the year that they were born that's drinkable. The year maybe they turned 21, so they had their first drink legally. And then, but if you're in Europe, it could be 18, the different ages. Yes. And then I would find a bottle of the year that, their career, first took off or something. So instead of interviewing them, we take the bottle of the wine and start the conversation. So like so
a perfect... 1990, what did you were doing? And 95 or 2000. So every bottle has an age.
And then when they tell me what they were doing, then I would of course I would pre-research. So I said, this is what happened in the world at that time. So this is what happened in history. So that, so instead of just being a straight interview, we could get intimate, occurrence or accounts of their life by using wine as a tool. And I would describe what the wine is, and we would talk about it. And so we thought it would be a fun show. So we shot 2 episodes right now. And I think initially we're going to release it on YouTube, but right now we're trying to figure out how to get distribution together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because between my 2 best friends, I have 2. So I have 2 actor friends and myself. 3 of us are hosting. So between the 3 of us, we have access to so many celebrities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I work with many of them, so that, and they're always interested because they're always looking for a safe place to talk about themselves. So what we wanted to do is we wanted the viewers and the fans to feel like they were sitting with us and, and being there listening to our stories.
That is so exciting.
Yeah. So that's kind of something.
And on a bottle of wine.
Oh, and
what can get better?
No, many, many bottles of wine, because
I have to find a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, and that's kind of the pivot that I'm looking at. And my friend goes, I think, you should definitely think about hosting other food and lifestyle related shows, because you travel a lot. And also, he goes, you don't really, you put it in simple language, which makes the viewer feel good about it.
I'm really excited to see your show.
Yeah. So we're pulling it together right now, and it's interesting. But, one of the things that I have a lot of interesting, thoughts about is how society has changed, because I really lived through so many different generations.
That was going to be my next question. You just read my mind.
Yeah. And what's so interesting is how, the internet came in the 90s.
Yes.
Late 90s.
You felt that too.
Yeah. And I was there middle of the internet boom. And then now, of course we have AI, but before that we had a big boom in social media. And I realized how social media had, actually caused people to be less sociable.
You think so?
Directly, firsthand, because yes, you could keep in touch with a lot of friends, but I think we talk to them less face to face. So one of the things that, I realize is that, especially the younger generation, they want to text everything. They don't want to talk to anybody. And, and I really think that the whole society, not society, but a significant group of population has lost the art of communicating with each other. So I had a couple of friends that told me, and they said, one of them was driving in an Uber to overcome his or her resistance or her shyness to talk to random strangers.
Yes.
And she said, God, these people have so many interesting stories, but I'm too shy to talk to them, but I'm getting better at it. I go, really? So my friend goes, why don't you try it just for a week? And I tried it, and it was fascinating. And
It
I'll
is
be honest,
fascinating.
not everybody, okay? So
Not everybody.
yeah, but like half the people, they don't even talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay, which is and then it really kind of opened my eyes about how society has changed. And then about
30%?
yeah, about 30%, they're kind of like busy on their phone, and they're kind of they say hi or whatever. But there's 20% of the people who I just met, they had so many fascinating stories. And and I got to know so many things that, oh my God, this would be a great screenplay or movie or whatever. So I may save some of them and actually write a screenplay in the future. But meeting all these random strangers really kind of opened my mind to.
And they didn't even know it was Paul, who has won this Emmy Award for Descendants, is driving an Uber car and collecting all these stories.
Yeah, and it was fascinating. And so, but the thing that really changed for me the most, I actually think I became a better human being by doing what I did, which is I really, really opened my eyes to what it is to be kind to people.
Yes.
Because I think that is missing, because I see a lot of people, they're angry, they're mean. I had a couple of passengers who were just mean.
So everybody's basically going through something or the other, and fighting their own wars, but kindness goes a long way.
Yeah, and I would like help these seniors with their grocery bags, and I would carry up to their door for them.
They would be like, "Thank you,"
and they go like, "Oh my God, I never had an Uber driver do that." I go, "Ma'am, there's always a first."
Oh.
And they say, "Thank you, thank you." And then some of them, they needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So I was joking with my friends, but I feel like I was bartender on wheels.
It's becoming a very lonely culture, actually.
Yeah, and so some people, they don't open up immediately, but once they open up, you go, "Oh my God, can I extend this ride for 5 minutes? I want to talk to you for another 5 minutes."
Nice.
So it was just a really interesting thing about.
Paul, you've lived such a vast life and did so much work. So what advice would you give to younger generation or even your younger self?
Well, one thing I learned is that the world is just full of so many interesting things. And my advice is that, I would tell my younger self, along the way, take a little break and experience things around you. Because, when I was young, working in the banking, or when I was in tech, I worked 100 hours a week.
Wow.
So I barely had enough time. But then as I got older, I take time, I take a break, and also just experience all the things. And for me, food and travel has become that.
Yes.
So
I love food too.
And I want to do more of it. And and so that's something that I always tell everybody is, the term, make sure you stop and smell the roses. I definitely agree, because that's something that we all need to do. And it really humanizes us instead of just being a part of a robot or a machine that just continues on. So take a little break along the way, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to pivot your careers.
Yeah.
Find something you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Take a risk.
Yeah. And
take a chance.
Yeah. And I always tell and now at this age I realize, if you do something you really love and enjoy, money follows.
Money follows.
Yeah. But if you chase the money, you're never going to be happy. And we all go through that. My younger self, I did that, but now I really enjoy what I do. And, and now I'm one of the, should we say, the upper makeup artists. We do quite well.
Yeah.
So I did learn about humanity, and that really changed me. And also now, I've really, really practiced the art of forgiveness. So, because, when somebody is, they're only mean to you, and they're random strangers, but I go, you know what, I forgive them, and I try to be nice to them. And quite a few of them, they really thank me for making their day, because I listened to them or I was kind to them. And so that really kind of changed my view about things. And I think I became a little bit calmer and a nicer person by driving an Uber for a little bit and getting this experience.
That is wonderful. So give me 3 takeaways from this experience.
Well, first thing is, I think we need more kindness in the world.
More kindness in the world.
And I realized that it takes so much effort to be mean and angry at somebody, but being kind to them is very easy and simple to do. So I met so many passengers who were just angry and mean, but they spent so much energy doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I learned about kindness. Second, there's just so many unique people out there
I
that
agree
just
that
opened
too.
my mind. I mean, I had this German couple. They were doing around the world in 80 days, and they
Wow.
were day 13 in Atlanta. And they said, well, Julius Verne's did it on a balloon, but we're doing on a commercial airplane, so we're going to more cities. Fascinating. And then, that's what I learned. There's so many interesting people. But most importantly, I discover how communication has changed so much. And it is
Mm.
so wonderful to talk to random strangers, because today, the only place you could really talk to them is at the airport, sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurant, you don't, because you're preoccupied.
Exactly.
And then even on the airplane, you're sitting next, so you can only talk to two people possibly if you're on coach. And if you first,
And if they're not, if they're off their phone or like
yeah,
the computers, because they're so engrossed into their own life.
yeah. And then now, if you realize, like all the business class and first class seats, they have little doors that you can shut so you're alone.
Yes.
So we really changed from, and one of the things that I would love to, especially the younger generation, is to, help them learn how to communicate, and especially the seniors, the older people. Oh, once you start talking to them,
They have so many stories to tell you.
yeah,